Hey, it's Callan from Authentic Lifestyle Design, and today I would like to talk to you about stepping out of your comfort zone. Something that we all need to do. So, a lot of people, they live life very comfortably. They really don't push the veil and they don't try and push themselves into uncertainty or into these kind of more stressful, uncomfortable situations. But what you may or may not know is that pushing through your comfort zone usually amounts to some of the biggest milestones or the biggest achievements in your life. And there's an absolute magnitude of difference when you start doing this. You sometimes want to be uncomfortable. So, there's things you might be afraid to do, right? And there's this wall of fear. I don't know if you've ever had this, but you have times in your life where there's this wall of fear, right? And you're on one side of the wall and you're just afraid to go through it. You can't break down this wall because you're afraid of what might be on the other side. Now, one example I can think of for guys, a lot of guys I know in my life, is asking out a girl, right? A lot of guys just can't do it. They'll like someone, they'll talk about liking them, they might even fantasize about them or make stories about them, but they can't push through that wall of fear to do it. So they'll get to the wall, they'll stand there, maybe stare at it for a little while, and then they'll bail because they're not comfortable. They don't feel like they can effectively step through that. That's what is essential to do. And the more you do it, the better you will get at it. So you start with little things, you start, maybe say you want to ask out a girl. Maybe your first step is just to talk to people. Maybe you even have social anxiety, and maybe you just have to start talking to people. So maybe just walk up to someone, talk to them. Maybe start with someone at a cash register working in a shop. Go and talk to that person. Then maybe you'll upgrade, talk to somebody else, and work your way up to breaking down that wall of fear. This helps too for facing your fears. So for example, if you're afraid of heights and you can talk yourself into skydiving, which is extreme, but if you can do it, if you can push through that wall, say here's you and here's that skydive, there's a wall in the middle that you have to break through. It's important that you have this mentality in life where you can just smash this thing down if you need to. It gives you so much confidence and so much internal power to be able to push through a fear like that, or to push through something that might make you uncomfortable. It might be asking for a promotion. It might be asking someone to do you a favor. It could be anything, just something that you're afraid of. And it's not something you're going to learn in a book. It's not something that you're going to be able to understand through raw theory. It's something you have to get used to. You have to get used to that uncomfortable feeling of fear, and you have to be able to move through that anyway. Which obviously it's scary and it's uncomfortable and people don't want to do it. But there's usually rewards on the other side. Also, it's important to understand the difference between fear and danger. So, for example, asking out the girl, it might be scary, You might be really afraid of rejection because it could happen. You could ask the girl out. Worst case scenario, she's probably just going to laugh at you and maybe make fun of you, which in the grand scheme of things is not that bad. But in your head, you weigh that out as being absolutely terrifying, But in reality, if you ask out a stranger and she kind of laughs at you and, makes you feel uncomfortable, that's not a big deal long term, right? And then the best case scenario is that you meet an awesome human being, go on a date and have a great time with each other. So you really have to weigh out your pros and cons. Now, if it's something else, say you've never, Say you've never dived into a deep pool from really high before. So say you're 50 feet or whatever up, diving into a pool. Now, if you mess that up, you might die. You might really hurt yourself, right? So that's kind of more danger. That's where this wall of fear exists to protect us, right? It's a defense mechanism. And if you push through that at the wrong time, you might hurt yourself. So you have to listen to it, you have to understand it, but then you have to rationalize that wall of fear and go, all right, well, is this thing I'm afraid of dangerous? Is this thing I'm afraid of going to cause significant harm, physically or mentally? And it's up to you to make that decision. But often now we live in a very safe world. It's probably, even with the bug and everything, it's a lot safer than it's really been for most of history. You know, if you live in a developed country, a Western country, then food and water and all these basic things are very easy to come by. And even if you're poor and you don't have much, you still have a lot compared to what people have had in history. And you're going to walk into that wall of fear. And these days, you don't have to push through it as much as maybe you once did. You know, say you're afraid of public speaking. That's your fear. What's the worst that can happen? You embarrass yourself on stage? It's probably not that big a deal. Even if it is, it's probably something you can recover from eventually. And it makes you stronger. Pushing through that fear is going to make you stronger. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it, the tougher you'll become. And that is so important. Because you can't let fear control you. You don't want fear to be like your slave driver. That you don't want to make your decisions out of fear. It's not going to get you anywhere. It'll get you to living a very average life and not really ever achieving or manifesting the things you should be. And one of the keys to making the life you want real is being able to push through that fear and being able to be honest with yourself and others, and being able to really do things that make you uncomfortable, that as a result are going to make you a better person. And yeah, it's really important. I'm just going to stress that again. It's super important. Fear exists to protect us, but sometimes our lizard brain or our old school mind is afraid of things that aren't rationally scary, or things that aren't necessarily going to hurt us. And as you push through that wall, it makes you tougher. And as a man, it's important that you can push through things that scare you. You can develop that. It's a part of standing up for yourself. It's a part of being able to be in your masculine core and being able to push and being able to go and chase those things you want. Because without that, life just isn't going to be as interesting. You're going to lose out on a lot of the spices and a lot of the experiences. Because say you have the fear around asking out that girl, and then eventually you do, right? And then maybe you ask out a couple more girls. Eventually that's going to be... You'll still have a wall of fear, and it'll still be scary, but you'll get better at pushing through it. You'll get used to swimming in those deeper waters where you're not 100% sure what lies underneath you. You get more comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's important. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Nice and brief as always. If you did, press the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. That's all going to help with the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and that you gained some value from this video. Thank you.